Hey guys, look, this one is a bit more serious than previous reviews. You see, I've had this Ford Everest now for 3 months as my long-termer, but it hasn't actually been my long-termer. Actually, it's been the long-termer of my fiance, which isn't Jacob, although I do love him. It's my fiance, Monique, who as part of her work has had to come out here, rural Victoria. We're about 4 hours west of Victoria at the moment. And although for me, a long-termer could be anything, I don't care. I love every car. I see the value in every car. This one, I needed it to be specific because she's my fiance. And if I'm gonna give her a long-termer that's out here in country Victoria over a 3-month period, which she will be driving every day across thousands of kilometers over the 3 months, it needs to have a few requirements, especially here in harsh country Victoria during summer. And really, the biggest thing for me is safety. Look around me at the moment. Look at the ground specifically. This is where I filmed my LC500 review just a few months ago. And the ground is completely charred because it's summer in Australia. It's bushfire season. And to me, it is so important that you are able to live here in country Victoria, but also get out in the event of a fire. You can't see around, but I'll put some B-roll up. Fires have come through here. And so choosing a long-term car that I would give my partner and frankly entrust her life in was really important. What if there's a tree that's fallen on the ground and she literally has to go over it or whatever? She has to take a beaten path to escape a bushfire. I needed something for her that was 4-wheel drive capable and easy to use. And so that kind of shortlisted my list down to 2 cars. This one here, the Ford Everest. This is the trend with the bi-turbo 4-cylinder. You guys know, not my favorite engine offered on a Ford Everest. That would be the V6, but at least it had that permanent 4-wheel drive. And actually the other car on that list was the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport. And that comes with Super Select 2, which is again, a very good permanent 4-wheel drive system. But she wasn't as thrilled about that just because of its age. And so that's how I ended up with a Ford Everest for 3 months. Of course, it wasn't just her driving it. We've done a lot of road trips around here, exploring country Victoria. And that's given me a lot of time to think about the Ford Everest, what I like, what I don't like, because it's definitely not a perfect car. And so today I'm going to take you for a full long-term review of the Ford Everest. This one here, as I said, is the Everest Trend, which is technically second from the highest in terms of grades, but because it only comes with the 2-litre 4-cylinder bi-turbo engine, this one here will cost you about 66,790 Australian dollars before on-road costs, so it's definitely not cheap. And today I'm going to tell you about the last 10,000 kilometers or so that we've done in this Everest. We're going to check out the exterior, interior, talk about practicality. We're going to performance test it, see how it's held up over this time. And of course, give it lots of sauce, drive it, but also tell you about driving experiences, fuel costs, things that are actually pretty important today. And then I'm going to end on final thoughts. Should you buy a Ford Everest, especially if you're like me and a bit of a simp for your fiance? So let's get into it. Alrighty, let's talk about the way that the Ford Everest looks, because I don't think it's aged very badly at all. It's only been a couple of years, but it looks really good. I really like these LED lights here. Now it does have bloody halogen bulbs for the turn signals. Like what the frick, okay? The car is like 60 something grand. In any car over 60 grand, that should be illegal, but anyway. You do get very bright LED lights here with automatic function. That was really important to me as well, because the country is very dark at nighttime, let me tell you. I love this grille here. I think it looks really, really nice. Ford badge, of course. You also have a radar down here. That was another requirement, that it needed to have adaptive cruise control and lane centering, because that just makes your life so much easier, especially when you're driving 4 hours each way. Trust me, it makes a big difference. You got LED fog lights here and a nice big bumper, of course. And although I'm not very partial to a silver on any car, I think it actually looks really good here, and it's definitely grown on me. But let me know what you guys think. What color would you get for the Ford Everest? I'll put them up on the screen now. I don't know which one I'd get. Something colorful, for sure. Let's check out the side. Alrighty, coming to the side now, you're gonna see these 18-inch wheels here. I really like that they're not too big. They're no larger than 18, frankly, because you get a lot of sidewall there, and that has been great for highway driving. These have also been fitted with Wrangler highway terrain tires, which I'm okay with. All terrains definitely would have been better. You can actually no-cost option all terrain tires, which is pretty damn good. You have a 360 camera there. As I was saying, this thing needed to have a lot of tech, and it really, really does. The Trend actually comes very well equipped, I think, for the price. You got the bi-turbo badge here, and that is to signify this is the 4-cylinder. You have your plastic side steps, not that it's really made any difference. Keyless entry and go. Tinted privacy glass, which is nice to have. You've also got roof rails up top, which I'll be honest, we haven't actually made use of in any way. But otherwise, it's a big, boxy SUV. It looks like just a rectangle on wheels, frankly, and that is what you'll find across the class. Let's check out the bum. Alrighty, let's talk about the bum now of the Ford Everest, and I really like it, guys. Really love this like faux light bar-esque looking thing at the back. Though I have noticed a couple of times condensation has gone in. Perhaps that's a warranty claim there, but anyway. Yeah, more fucking halogen turn signals here at the back. Everest badge within that faux light bar thingy. You got the Ford badge here. You have a nice big bumper with a full-size spare wheel under there. This has a towing kit fitted. That means that this will tow 3.5 tons, though I'll be honest, we haven't actually towed anything with it. You've of course got your 4-wheel drive badge here, so no one forgets, and your Trend badge there as well. And what about practicality? Because that's quite important. Let's see what it can fit in its bum on 3. 1, 2, 3. Power tailgate. Unreal. You have a lot of space here on the inside. Underfloor storage as well. It's not huge, but hey, it's something. In fact, this is pretty much class-leading amounts of space, and it gets better. Very easy to drop the 3rd row. In fact, it's rather effortless. And then you just get a stupid amount of room in here. It is very, very good. And then we can come around here. We pull this little tab here. That drops. Same thing on this side. We pull this down. That drops, and then you just get a stupid amount of space in here. It is a lot. It is very, very good. It's been really practical, and although it looks clean now, it looks like a bomb when all my stuff's in there, and it's been totally fine. So very good. Let's check out the interior. Alrighty guys, let's talk about the interior now of the Ford Everest. What has it been like over the last few months? Let's start with what I don't like in here, and that is, well, kind of the fit and finish. There's just quite a lot of panel gaps in places, inconsistencies you might say. There is a lot of hard, scratchy plastic kind of dotted around the interior. I'm not going to say it feels luxurious, really. With that said though, I am yet to find a nicer interior in this class. So I guess it kind of comes with the package. The thing I have really appreciated, and it's the smallest thing ever, are the bloody cup holders in the dash. They are fantastic, phenomenal. I can't tell you how often I seem to have more than 2 drinks in this car, and these 2 cup holders just wouldn't cut it. I really love these. Storage as well is fantastic. So that upper glove box is huge. Really satisfying to click as well. This glove box down here, fantastic too, really big. The door bins are, well, they're quite small, but that's okay because you have storage elsewhere. And otherwise, I have really enjoyed spending hours and hours driving this car around, and I know Monique has as well. The thing she really loves is the tech in here. So like this display, they have obviously updated the firmware, because when it first came out, I was having so many issues with my Apple CarPlay. It was just stuttering all the time, and I know a lot of you did as well. It doesn't do that anymore, thankfully, because it was really annoying. They've also updated this operating system now. It's just so snappy, really fast to use. You still have a lot of physical aircon controls here, which is very good. Some are up in the display, but at least they're always there. They're never hidden, so it's not too bad. And the other thing that she has really loved having is navigation in here, because she's with Optus, who are a little bit poopy out here in the sticks. And so having that as a backup where it will work anywhere in Australia is very important to have, because, well, let's be honest, we don't use Melways anymore. Up in front of you, you have your heads-up display, which is fine. I recently drove the Volkswagen Amarok, and I prefer the skin that they've put on that, but it still shows heaps of information, is very customizable, so I've really got no complaints. I know I said it had a lot of scratchy materials, but there is still a lot of soft touch as well. And as far as a body-on-frame diesel off-roader goes, it's actually relatively quiet in here as well, which is nice. I also really like these seats here. At first, I thought they looked really boring, and I'm not gonna lie, the leather on them feels more vinyl-y than leather, but at least they are heated and cooled here on the Trend, which is fantastic to have. Really have appreciated that. And because we don't have the platinum trim of the Everest, which I'll be honest, as a bit of a prima donna, I kind of wanted, well, I haven't missed that spec at all. Even though it doesn't get the Bang & Olufsen sound system, it still sounds really, really good in here with the generic no-name brand. Of course, here you have your 4-wheel drive and drive mode selector, which we will come back to. Charging has been really good too, because you have a USB-A port, USB-C port, which is a fast charger, and a wireless charging pad there. So you're not going to be wanting for charging devices in here. you'll be fine. And really my biggest takeaway for the Everest is just how comfortable it is. When you combine this quite nice interior space with those 18-inch wheels, it is just a very nice, soft, plush ride. And over a 4-hour journey, especially with this very strong lumbar support in these seats, really enjoyed my time in it, and I know Monique has as well. But what about back seats? Let's talk about that. Alrighty, so back seats. What's it like back here? Well, I'm 5'11". I've got actually quite a lot of leg room. Toe room as well is very good. Headroom too. Great there. You have some air conditioning vents up in the roof and a individual fan controller here, which is very responsive. I really like that. USB-C port, USB-A port. The seats, I'm not going to say are the most comfortable. I kind of wish they had more leg support. They are the same nice leather as up front though. Again, kind of feel a bit vinyl-y. If we pull down this center armrest, it's nice and soft, and you have a couple more cup holders. Can't get enough cup holders in this car, I think. Whack that away. You have map pockets up in front of you, which is good for storing stuff. Actually pretty large door bins in the back, which is weird. Soft touch up here as well. So quality doesn't take too much of a hit, although up front it doesn't feel that amazing to begin with. But as I said, this is a very common experience with these body on frame, essentially SUV utes. Let's quickly talk about the third row though, because it's actually not the greatest. It's easy to get into the back, but again, at 5'11", with these seats in their current position, I just get no room, no leg room, no toe room. Like my toes are at a weird angle, and headroom is also quite limited, and I'm really not that tall, so not the greatest. You can of course slide these seats forward, and that will give you more room in the back, but now, well, that's not going to be very comfortable, is it? So yeah, you're not really going to be doing that either. I just feel like I've had more space in competitors. So in the back though, you do get cup holders, you get a 12-volt socket just on one side, and you get some more air vents in the roof, so that's also good. But really, it's reserved for kids or people in a pinch. We've had 7 people in this car, and I gotta say, it just wasn't the greatest. But let's put the complaining aside and performance test this thing. How fast is it from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour? Let's test it out. Alrighty guys, it's time to launch the Ford Everest, the 4-cylinder. Technically it's lighter than the V6. How will it go? I've got the car in 2-wheel drive at the moment. Oh, start, stop. Turn back on. And I've got it in 2-wheel drive because that will minimize any powertrain loss in sending power to the front wheels. We just have it going to the back, and it's a perfect day, so we shouldn't have any issues with grip. Let's do this. Foot on the brake, here we go. Oh, that was a perfect launch. Couldn't have been better. God, it has to change up like 5 gears. Come on, come on. That's okay. That's okay, respectable. 0 to 100 in 9.96 seconds. You can get around 8 seconds if you do go for the V6. So keep that in mind. It's about 20% faster, which is about right, actually, based on the figures. Alrighty, let's try this thing normally. Alrighty guys, my final drive in the long-term Ford Everest. Let's give it some sauce. Yeah, look, how do I feel about this engine? I don't mind it, right? As far as like this segment goes, it's actually at the top, right? But it's not really, is it? Because there is the V6, and once you've gone V6, you don't want to go back, let me tell you, because it's just so good. So here we have the 2-liter 4-cylinder bi-turbo engine. Of course it is diesel. It puts out 154 kilowatt of power and 500 newton meters of torque. That's pretty good. You put your foot down, 10-speed auto takes a sec, but it does eventually get there, and it's got some pretty strong performance, really. But the reality is, it's just not as good as the V6. It's just not. We have some saucy corners here. Let's give it some sauce. Note, not saucy corner, because we're 4 hours away from where we would normally film. Actually 5 hours away from where we would normally film. And so really, by all accounts, this engine is actually very good. It's been very reliable. I've had no issues with it at all. To be fair, it's been 3 months, but over, you know, almost 10,000 kilometers, that's pretty good. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't drive quite as well as the V6. What it does do very well though, and what I've discovered, is it's actually very fuel efficient. So to be fair, this is pretty much exclusively highway driving at this point. But if we have a look here, I last reset it about 3,000 kilometers ago, but we're getting 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers, which is really good. I mean, you know, you could put the V6 into neutral and roll it downhill and it wouldn't get that. Now, the terrain we're on right now is exactly the kind that I would always recommend getting some sort of all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, permanent four-wheel drive for out here, because we're gonna put the car into 4A. It's shifting now. When you're in 2-wheel drive, it's actually rear-wheel drive, and it can be a little bit fishtaily, like any other car. But when you're in 4A, 4 automatic, you can see it if we go into, this menu right here, that we now have power being sent through to the front, and it only sends it when it needs to, and it can detect that we're on a pretty gravelly road, and so we need it. And that has just been so good, so good. And honestly, for me, you know, I'm all about the safety of my partner, and I just want to make sure that she's safe. So if she does come onto a road like this, because sometimes navigation takes you onto these unsurfaced roads, I just want to make sure that she's, you know, at the maximum amount of safety that you could possibly have on one of these roads. And I think she is. It also does help a little bit with handling, because it means that we just have a bit more confidence up front of the car, and that works a treat. Sometimes this engine can be really torquey, but it is totally dependent on that 4-cylinder. Oh, we're in a blind corner here. Come on, baby. Accelerate. It's pretty good at that. Did I say pretty or really? You let me know in the comment section below. In terms of comfort, there's no denying that this is not going to be as comfortable as a monocoque designed SUV, i.e. any SUV that isn't two steel beams running under the car and then they put the body on top. This is a body on frame car. It's essentially like the Ford Ranger, but with a hatchback. And so yes, you do feel a lot of the imperfections in the road. It is not perfect in how it drives, but definitely as you get higher in speed, we're on some pretty terrible roads right now, it really does smooth out the ride. So highways are fantastic in this thing, but when you are going slower, you notice the imperfections in the road, no doubt. And so really the Ford Everest has just been a perfect companion out here in country Victoria. Monique says she absolutely loves the way that it drives. She has no complaints. And it's only really when you start talking to a car journalist are we going to start to pick up on things that could be better. But as it stands, my long-term thoughts, it has been fantastic. It just thrives out here in country Victoria. Well, really anywhere. It really does a good job. I'm really happy with it. And I'm kind of sad to give it back. I really am. And as I said, the biggest thing for me is knowing its capability, knowing if worse happens and there is a terrible bushfire and Monique needs to get out of where she is, she can. And that actually, like, no joke, it's really important for me, knowing that she has something that's capable, that can go off-road in a heartbeat, and you're gonna be totally fine. It's about as capable as anything else out there. Let me know what you guys think about that though. Are you the same? Especially if you live out here in the country. Is that something that comes through your mind, that you need something that can kind of tackle any terrain? Or is it just me? Is it just me? All right, let's get into our final thoughts. Alrighty guys, final thoughts on the Ford Everest trend. We've had this now for 3 months, and like I kind of hoped wouldn't happen, well, bushfires happen. Again, as you can see, it's charred the ground here where I usually film. You guys know that I have actually been a fan of the Ford Everest since it first came out. I think it's a very good, capable off-road SUV. And honestly, that's just been solidified driving this thing around for 3 months. I've had 0 issues with it, like 0. Of course, neither has Monique. She hasn't had a single problem with it, and she has also really enjoyed driving it. We needed something that was reliable, that was safe to drive out here in country Victoria, where it is bushfire season and you might need to leave at any point. It's been efficient, it's been almost luxurious on the inside. It's a bit no frills in some areas, but isn't that what you're kind of signing up for when you're getting a body on frame SUV like this? I definitely don't think it's the cheapest, and if you need a cheaper version of this, well, you'd be looking at the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport. But absolutely, I wholeheartedly believe that this would be my choice if I was looking for another SUV like this in the class. What else can you get? Really, that's this good. You can't. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Have you bought a Ford Everest? What do you think of the Ford Everest? I'm actually going to be a little bit sad giving this thing back, but also the long term of that I've put myself in over the last 3 months, which you will be seeing soon. And of course, if you want to buy a Ford Everest or any other car and you want the best price with in-stock cars and you want a bit of help not to deal with dealerships, well, you can use us. CarSauce.com/buy. Jacob and I will help you out. Ciao for now.